Dumisani Khumalo is the crime intelligence boss, back once again in the witness box, and he of course has taken us through painstakingly the purported communication that might have taken place. That's electronic communication between controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mogotsi and Matlala, two names, of course, that you've become familiar with over the past couple of weeks. We've heard police mentioning in their respective cases, for example, that there are links to other instances. We're not there just yet. We're still at a point of trying to get a sense of what hold, if any, they had on the SAPS's operations. Canny Maphanga was inside the Bridget Mabandla Justice College, stepped out very quickly for us to make sense of this moment. And Canny, we've listened to over an hour of this recollection of these electronic messages that were sent between Brown Mogotsi and Matlala. Help us distill what picture the crime intelligence boss is trying to paint here.
Indeed. So Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo is going through a thematic approach through the WhatsApp messages, and that's for our benefit so that we don't get lost in this large chain or connection or network between these alleged cartel members and then key figures within the criminal justice system and the political sphere and the business space at large. We're on theme 1, which now deals with the alleged infiltration, influence or use of resources to protect the interests of these cartel members. They start with IPID, which is the independent police watchdog that looks at the conduct of police when they give effect to their operations in the country. What he does is he goes through a set of WhatsApp messages between Brown Mogotsi, again that name comes up, and Matlala. At the very least, these two people know each other and they are on a communication in a daily kind of fashion, at least in the December portion that we are being shown before the commission. Essentially what you see is that there always seems to be a request from one part, and of course someone heeding to the request, or on the other part, someone making reference to a request dealing with operational or police matters, and then the other being able to deliver or at least give some type of answer regarding that. So what he's trying to show is that in this portion that Matlala allegedly had an IPID guy or was communicating allegedly with Brown Mogotsi in order to be shielded from the police processes or operations that were taking place at the time, because we now know there were operations on the 6th of December, 18th and 19th pertaining to Matlala. And in these chains of messages, you can see that Brown Mogotsi is requesting a payment to be made by Matlala. One could say he's relentless and seeking this payment. He keeps asking for it immediately. He even gives the travel agency and their banking details on what the payment must be, the direct amount of 25%, and he follows up quite consistently to see if that payment is going to be made. And it seems like it's a bit of a rush for him to get the payment, because it's happening in a period where there's lots of public holidays, such as the 26th, but he seems to keep following up about those messages. When the operation takes place at the home of Matlala, you see him asking about the IPID guy. You see them chatting about an IPID guy, and the IPID guy giving effect to an arrest. Now, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo does not want to go into detail about who they were supposed to arrest, but we know that this is a police watchdog, so their job is to monitor. Yes, their job is to monitor the work of police and their operations. So we know at least we're in that scope. And then you see there's a difficulty with them giving effect to the arrest because they don't have a J88 in order to deal with that assault claim that they want. So it's an exercise of showing that Matlala is able to allegedly manipulate police processes in order to satisfy his personal interests. And that again speaks to the overall characteristics of how crucial it is to have the assistance or cooperation of certain key figures in the criminal justice system in order for a cartel to thrive. You need people who will be able to shield you, protect you, and keep you informed as to what exactly is taking place, if there are any investigations and probes, and how to suppress those particular investigations and probes.
You make mention of this travel agency. I think a moment was made out of it.
Yes.
Travel and there was a moment about how you pronounce that. I hope I've done it a bit of justice myself, but that's beside the point, because there was a bit of signposting from the evidence leader who mentioned that this is an important agency to look out for, and in fact will come back to the role it's allegedly played in facilitating some of these payments.
Yes, I think at the end of the themes, we'll start to see or start to create meaning as to what this travel agency is. The first assumption is that the payments would have been related to some kind of alleged event that someone would need accommodation, flights, etc. And we've heard allegations of that nature, that they believe that Matlala was also allegedly funding the, the political events surrounding the police minister Mkhunu. However, what is coming clear with the evidence now is that this particular travel agency, that's what it's being painted as before the commission, their accounts were retrieved by the commission and the investigative team there. They were able to trace payments so payments are made from Matlala to the travel agency, but from the travel agency's account they're able to find payments being made to Brown Mogotsi. So possibly they may be able to draw links between those three series of payments to try and establish this alleged organized syndicate or infiltration in the criminal justice system, and how you have these middlemen, alleged fronts, in order to assist with the facilitating of payments to various individuals. And then it also raises more questions as to why Vusimuzi Cat Matlala felt it prudent to discuss operational matters with this individual, Brown Mogotsi, why he felt that he had to make a payment to this individual, what benefits would he have allegedly gotten from this individual, from all of these efforts that we are seeing in these text messages. Those are the questions that I think Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo wants the Commission to think about and to, process as he goes through those 6 themes in order to illustrate the depth of the alleged infiltration.
Yeah, and there's still this feeling that Brown Mogotsi is such an elusive figure with so much influence. You know, he's able to make certain calls, get certain things done, but we still don't really have a face to associate this person with. And of course, we still aren't really able to connect directly how he's able to, essentially push these things through. But at some stage, we get wind or at least catch sight of supposed communication involving the now suspended minister, at least somebody who we are made to believe is Senzo Mkhunu.
Difficulty with that is that it's a screenshot. Yeah. And it's a screenshot coming from the phone of Brown Mogotsi, we're told. So these are messages extracted.
It's like secondary information, if you like.
Exactly. It's extracted from the phone of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. You don't have the suspended police minister's phone to affirm, or rather, let's not say we don't know what the commission will come up with, but from the exchanges that we're seeing, that is a screenshot sent from Brown Mogotsi to Vusimuzi Cat Matlala's phone. So we don't know if he was speaking to the police minister or not, but all we know is that this message was sent by Brown Mogotsi to Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, and it obviously, if it were to be true, would implicate the police minister, and then of course will give meaning to why this particular individual is the go-to for Vusimuzi Cat Matlala when he is experiencing challenges regarding the operations of this alleged cartel with respect to law enforcement agencies, because this is a period where the GCI ops, or rather counterintelligence, was closing in on the operations of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, and it's shortly before what would then become his arrest, and he turns to this particular individual and he feels very committed to heed to the requests that Brown Mogotsi is making. You can see it in the text messages. He's stating that, I promise my brother, don't stress my brother, I will get it done. So there's definitely some type of connection there, but it is to establish who is this individual and why does he seemingly hold so much influence to the extent that this alleged cartel member has placed so much time, and not only time, resources, financial resources, as we're seeing, because a payment has been made towards this individual in order to allegedly shield whatever operations that he is conducting at the time. That key question needs to be answered, but at least at this very part that we're seeing now, there seems to be some type of a connection between Vusimuzi Cat Matlala and Brown Mogotsi. It remains to be seen whether the Commission will be able to draw links between Mogotsi and Mchunu to the extent where there isn't any doubt created about the authenticity of that screenshot. But we see that it is attributed to the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, and there is a question there about giving effect to the arrest, again, going into the realm of operations, which we've seen being discussed quite extensively before this commission. But definitely a lot of questions continue to rise for Brown Mogotsi and the kind of influence that he may or may not allegedly hold in terms of the law enforcement agencies' participation, in the operations of these alleged organized crime syndicates.
Gosh, certainly a lot to take in. I think sometimes people might get lost in this maze or this web. It's worth taking a few steps back in understanding how these screenshots ultimately landed up in this commission. Where were they retrieved? At which point of the SAPS's operations?
I understand that these are from the devices of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. That was already elaborated on by the crime intelligence boss, Khumalo, when he first took the stand and explained how they retrieved these messages. So it was done through their forensic processes that they were able to extract the WhatsApp messages from the phone. They're also able to identify that the name attached to the numbers that they have extracted information from sometimes can be attached to Dlamini, which we understand is a Swaziland identification for Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, and of course his name that he uses that we understand to be his name, that is Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. So it's two identifications that we are seeing for the cell phone communications between the pair. So at the very least, we know that these messages were extracted by the police from the phones of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. The only thing that is a bit shaky is the screenshots that comes from Brown Mogotsi and attributes it to the police minister Senzo Mchunu, because of course they didn't extract that directly from the phone. It's the screenshots coming to the phone of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. So I think that we'll have to do further work on that one. But the connection between Vusimuzi Cat Matlala and Brown Mogotsi, I think, is the first portion that they're going through, and the overall theme that is being addressed here is the ability to manipulate iPad resources for your benefit, or the suggestion that Matlala may have had an iPad guy that was assisting him for his own personal interest, which is a common feature and theme of these alleged organized crime cartels, that they need a lot of assistance in order for their operations to thrive, particularly with law enforcement agencies.
Sure. Again, a lot coming out, and we get a sense that there's still so much more to be said. It's now 13 minutes after 11 o'clock. We know that this commission starts on time, and so we'll be readying ourselves for the continuation of what is likely to be a resumption of our understanding of that exchange that might have happened between Vusimuzi Cat Matlala and Brown Mogotsi.